Back to you, Maya.
So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I just want to introduce the topic. So we're going to be talking about free press and why it is important. And so just a definition of free press, I know you guys all know what it means, but it's really just any media, whether it be newspapers or TV or even social media, where we're able to write down whatever we feel, whatever we want to write, we can write it down. And so as we know that in different areas of the world, free press can be corrupted. People can take free press and make it less free. And so that's why we're here to speak about it and how we can advocate for it in our various places that we are. So I guess the first question I have for anybody who wants to answer is, what is the state of free press in the place that you're in? Are they stopping certain things? Is it super free and you're able to post whatever you want? I would love to hear.
I think let me start. Is it fine? Okay, yeah. My name is Kagaradabri Matthew from Uganda, and I would like to talk about the press in my country. In Uganda, journalists are seriously beaten. Journalists are not allowed to give all the information, and there is information like a gateway keeping or grafting of the information. Now, most of the TVs are giving information basing on the orders of the government. Let me give you a little bit of example. During 2021 elections in Uganda, they could even put off Facebook. Even up to now, Facebook is off. Apart from that, now when we go to the journalists to give out information, during 2021 elections in Uganda, they could stop journalists from capturing information, and those who captured it, they could be beaten seriously. Apart from being beaten, they could even take all their gadgets they have been using, so that this information is not hired on TVs. And as you know, in Uganda, most of people watch TVs and radio apart from using social media, because of inadequate access to internet and poverty. So actually in Uganda, when we talk about press, it is very, very difficult. And those people who are in journalism, their life is in a risk. Many people are dying, many journalists are dying, and those who fear the freedom, fear to express, fear to give out information, now they talk about other issues. But things concerning politics, one, things concerning governance, things concerning accountability and corruption, they no longer capture it very well. So what, in conclusion, I could say that in Uganda, there's poor access to information, especially information that opens people's mind, that make people critically think, and that make people critically see what is taking place. Imagine people of opposition were tortured, were even beaten, but these things could not be aired on TV. On Saturday, our president gave out an address. They showed out some of these things, and he denied that he was not the one who ordered for them. Yet people were cut their fingers, even having some wounds. I'm very disappointed with the press in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Would anyone else like to comment on this? Begum, are you raising your hand? Or are you?
No, I
was just trying to clap virtually.
Of course. Awesome. So
Yes, I also want to talk, but maybe later after some friends.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Would anybody else like to speak on how on the
Okay, I guess I can go next.
Sweet.
Okay, great. So like I said in my introduction, I sit in Nigeria. And so when it comes to free press, so Nigeria is what I would call partly free when it comes to press freedom, right? So you can't say it's totally not free in terms of press, because today we still hear news, we still know what is going on and all of that. But in some ways, some organizations, some media organizations are still censored. And what I would like to do is to go a bit back into history, and maybe that would make us understand why it is what it is right now, and then what we can do to make things better. So sometimes between in the 1800s, like 1859 to 1960, Nigeria got independence in 1960. So between that period of 1859 and 1960, it was majorly a colonial rule, so which is from the British and all of that. So press was majorly privately owned, which means that government had no interference. It was run by private entities. Now, around 1960s, when Nigeria got independence, we now saw that power was transferred to Nigerians, right? And British left. So a lot of the private-owned press houses that were left at the time when Nigeria got independence was transferred to locals. And most of the locals were deeply involved in politics, all right? So what now happened is that politicians were using media to sell agenda and cause a lot of tribal war, to the extent that it led to the civil wars of the 1966, all right? And so by the time the civil war started, lasted for almost 12 years. Within those 12 years, Nigeria had been so much divided that a lot of different media houses favored one ethnic group over another. So you realize that in the western part of Nigeria, where I sit, there's a lot of Yoruba people, okay? And we have media houses like the Tribune, like the Vanguard, that would put out content that vilifies places like in the east, where we have a lot of Igbos. And then you now see Igbo guys who will come up with their media outlets that put out content that will also say something bad about the West. And then we have the northern parts that also had their media. So it became, the tension became so much that it caused civil war. And around 1970s, the military took over and took over all the media houses. Okay, and for them, they thought this was the way that media space can be censored and can be regulated. So around 1983, there was an agency called the News Agency of Nigeria that was established by the military government then. And the purpose was to censor electronic media. So we had the advent of radio, television, newsprint, that were, giving out information. So government wanted to be the source of information going out across the country. So information was coming out more or less from a single source, which is the Nigerian News Agency, and other media houses will pick it from there. But as electronic media advances, and then you now see social media coming up, most of the traditional media became very relevant, right? And news were broken from, I can sit down in my house and break a news and everybody, will take it and then it goes viral. All right. So governments became confused. At the same time, we are now in a democratic dispensation from 1999. Okay. So what the government did around 2011 was to set up another agency that would censor social media, right? We call it new media, such that whatever is coming out is regulated and censored. But you know how social media is, it's very fluid and you can hardly regulate it. So sometimes around 3-4 months ago, the government decided I was getting too much and banned Twitter. So right now in Nigeria, Twitter is banned. And Twitter became one of the prominent news media because government believed that most of the government information, military strategy were released through threads and tweets. And Boko Haram, which is like the major menace of government right now, have access to information and they're able to perpetrate their evils in the northern part of Nigeria. So right now, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, but we do not have Twitter, right? And we have other traditional media that are also regulated by the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, which regulates all the information that's going out, even up to filmmaking and music videos. We have a national board for national censors board for film and music video, where all the music and videos, all the films and all of that coming out are censored and regulated by a particular arm of government. And one of the reasons is because they do not want videos or film that would talk bad about Nigerian leaders, right? And I think even across Africa, this is almost the same thing. I just heard someone from Uganda says Facebook is banned. And if you, I mean, if you talk to someone in Zimbabwe, it's almost the same thing when Mugabe was president. If you talk to someone in Rwanda, it's almost the same thing, right? So I think it's generally an African thing, but I'm narrowing it down to Nigeria because this is where I stay and this is where I know. So it asks me, Nigeria is partly under press freedom in the sense that we still have news, but it's more or less controlled from a single source. And majority of the news medium right now where young people get their news from Twitter is banned. But luckily for VPN, a lot of us are able to access Twitter via VPN, right? So this is the state of press freedom in Nigeria today.
Excellent. That was actually really comprehensive and really informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Would anybody else like to comment, or should we move on to the next point?
I can talk maybe.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let me lower my head. Well, I think Turkey is a little bit different from the countries that have been addressed so far in terms of the Turkey's position in maybe in the democracy index or some other indicators which are used in measuring democracy. I think yes, we are, I think, a little bit better than these countries that my friends talked so far. But of course, democracy is something that has always, needs to be mature. I mean, there's a concept called democratic consolidation. This means that democracy is something that can be bettered every day, and yes, media and politics relationship is one of the elements which shape democracy in a country. I think the situation of press freedom in Turkey has been one of the factors that hinders democratic well-being in my country. Hinder, I mean, prevents, right? Am I using the word in the right way? Yes, hinders. Yeah. Yes, because we don't have a very, we don't have a very free media, as my friends talked of, traditional mainstream like TVs or radios. But also, as the technology has been improving every day, we can talk about the new media platforms like the social media channels. I think Turkey is not in a very good position compared to Western countries like USA, or maybe, I don't know the situation in European countries very well, so I cannot make a comparison. But in Turkey, media has not also from not independent from the capital, from the big bosses of the the capital circles. I had written an article comparing the Indian media and Turkish media. They have some similarities in terms of the connection the press, the media actors have between the political elites and the capital and the big bosses, because there is a term called cross monopolization. So in Turkey, the media bosses do not only own media outlets. For example, they own a TV channel, but also they have some businesses in tourism sector or other sectors. So this means that they are not, their media organs are not free, because they cannot make reportings, because they are afraid of some government pressure, because they also have other businesses like in tourism or transportation or construction. So this cross monopolization term has been a problem in Turkey. If I am to make a very short historical overview before putting an end to my analysis, the media, since the establishment of the republic, has been an important actor. For example, in the Kemalist state building process, Atatürk and his friends had used media as a tool to implement the Kemalist rules and principles to the Anatolia and to the newly established nation. In the multi-party years, I think, yes, the media was to some degree was functioning its role, but in the first fully fledged military coup, which took place in 1960 in Turkey, which overthrew Democrat Party government, here the role of the media was very important. There were many anti-government news which undermined the legitimacy of the government, and at the end, the military intervened, and there was a military coup. I am not very, at the moment, I don't have many insights about the 1970s, but in 1980s. But after the 1980 coup, which happened on September 12th, there was a high apoliticization in Turkey. So also the military. There was a military regime for 3 years, and this also shaped the condition of media state relations. There was a pressure on the media. Some newspapers, some films, movies were banned by the military elites. In 1990s, the introduction of the private TV channels we witnessed the introduction of the private TV channels in early 1990s. Also, these were the years that also the private universities were first opened in Turkey. With 2000s, the online media has become one of the elements in media sector. But today, as I said, for more than 20 years, the AKP government has been ruling this country. And in terms of press and government relations, I can say that there is a term called pull media. This means that the government gives some of the resources to these media organs, like A News, A Haber. And this always makes pro-government news. And there are lots of TV channels in Turkey at the moment. If you want to know something, not in line with the government circles, maybe you have to go make a research on social media, like some citizen journalism outlets like Biyanet or Duvar English, Wall English in English. So I think the role of citizen journalism is also important in, making democracy a little bit better in recent days, because there is a heavy pressure, I think. Thank you.
That's excellent. I think your point about cross monopolization and such like that, where the press has sort of a chilling effect because many of its like most prominent figures are also involved in government and such like that. I think that was actually a really, really interesting point, and I think that leads us into our next question, which in a very basic sense is, what does the term like free press mean to you? Like in your, like what do you want to see like become like the conception of a free press in your country or in the world as a whole?
Okay, so I can go.
Great, and,
All right.
and Tunji, yeah, great. If you go, and then we can get some new voices too. But go ahead. And I made him freeze.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
No, I can stay if you want me to stay.
Tunji, your connection is acting up. I don't know if it's just me. I'll give you a second.
Maybe let's come back to
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It starts working and then freezes again. All right, so Tunji, while you're getting your connection together, we'll go to someone else. I would love to hear, I hate to put you on the spot, but I would love to hear something about China. How is China doing with free press? I would love to hear.
Actually,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, let's go to Chingwak and then you.
Yeah.
Tunji.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to be sure that you're hearing me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the topic is very nice, but with the position I'm in, actually, it is really tough because I'm going to speak on behalf of two countries, my country and the country I'm in, which is China. So let me just try to sum it up with China. Actually, press or freedom of speech or media freedom, actually, it is 100% controlled by the states. And whatever come out from the media, it has to go through the state first. How? Because that is how the Chinese policies or the party policy is. Everything must be approved by the government before it goes to public. And in that situation, you look at, there are a lot of social media platforms that are designed for Chinese, because they can be controlled and they can be filtered by the government before it goes out. So currently in China, we don't use the Western media, such as Facebook, WhatsApp, other things. They are actually illegally used here in China. So we, the international, or with the foreigners who are in China, we use the Western social media using VPN, which is illegal, but that is the only way we can communicate. But it is actually not allowed for Facebook to operate, because the government came up with the policy to create their own Facebook, which is called Weibo. They also create their own WhatsApp, which is called WeChat. So they imitate all the Western social media and they create their own, so that they can be controlled and they can be filtered. No one can talk against the states. That is how the press is in China. And to make matters worse, it is like all the citizens, actually, they are abide by the policy and no one can go against it. So everyone is enjoying whatever government say, regardless of restrictions. So no one can object, because if you object, that is against the state policy and you might be in a deep shit. So the state of the press, or the freedom of the speech in China, actually, it is quite opposite to the Western world or to the democratic countries. So that is how we are living, and we have to be abide by the state, whether you like it or not, because they condemn propagandas which are made by social media, and they say that is the main reason of controlling this the press. So you cannot go against them and say you are lying. If you lie, then automatically you find yourself in a problem. So coming up to fight the freedom of speech, or to demand freedom of speech in China, is actually not possible. So everyone always relax and listen to what government says. So that is how we are living here, with with the freedom of speech. So you are free to talk, but not to that extent, because everything is censored by government. So that is how the press is in China. And coming back to my country, actually, for us to understand, or for all of you to understand the nature of the press in my country, it's good to know how we came to become a country. To make it quick, actually, my country gained independence in 2011 from all Sudan, of which Sudan got its independence in 1955 under the British rule. So when British left in 1955 and Sudan became independent, the first government of Sudan was a military government. And that military government was driven by the religion ideology, which doesn't cover press, or which doesn't cover freedom of speech. So when the first government took over, it was totally under Islamic laws. And the big population of Sudan during that time was 75% were African, or they are Christian, and 25% were Muslim in Sudan when British left. But the power was under the military rule of Islamic ideologies. So when they took power, there was nothing called press, or there was no freedom of speech. And Sudan has been ruled for almost 50 years without a civil government. It has been ruled by dictators, military coup after every military coup. And so in 1983, Sudan was about to elect a civil government, but unfortunately, the civil war broke out. So the civil war took almost 21 years until it ended in 2005. So during those period of time, it was a military rule. So everything was censored and everything was controlled by government. So no one can talk or no one can do anything. So when the civil war ended in 2005, Sudan was still under Islamic rule and also under a military rule, which was automatically a dictatorship government. So they dictate everything and no one is allowed to say what. So within 2005 to 2011, there was an interim period whereby people were trying to do transition from the old regime to the new regime. But unfortunately, Sudan is split in 2011 to become two Sudan, the North and the South. So coming to the part of the South, Sudan inherit the old system of leadership from the old Sudan, whereby freedom of speech is not allowed. The condition of the press and the journalists is not improved, or they are not willing to improve. So from the independent period up to now, the press is actually not existing according to how they are treated, or how they are operating, because government pay less attention to the freedom of speech and to the journalists and to other people that provide information. So currently the information that are out there are controlled and they are censored by the government. And because with the modern media, the availability of social media has made everyone to acquire information which government doesn't allow. So also the government put some restriction there to prevent citizens to operate some social media apps such as Facebook. So everything is under restriction and everything is controlled by government. So it's a hard time for press to improve and to be at the level where it is needed at this situation where we are in now. So it is not easy, but we have to continue to work hard to improve. So coming to the question that that was asked by DJ, how do you see press? Actually, to add it on, I think the only way where we can make freedom of speech conducive is to engage government. That press is very important, because without freedom of speech, there is no freedom, because you cannot get a freedom without speaking. You have to speak. That what highlight freedom. So we have to engage government. We have also to create awareness from the local people to understand that you need this and you need this. And with your power, government can change things. And that is what people are trying to do now. And also to educate the journalists how to handle information, or how to promote press among themselves, and how they can engage with the government, because they are always the target to the governments. So it need actually togetherness, so that people can work hand in hand between the journalists, the government, and the society. So that is how it is. And thank you.
Thank you so much. You shared a lot, and that was really interesting.
I think, can I also make my submission in regards to media freedom in Uganda?
Go ahead.
Yes, basically, let me give a brief of what you actually. Critical journalism in Uganda began in 1920s with the first independent African newspaper called the Sekanyola, which criticized both the kingdom and the colonial government. Yeah. So in 1949, political turmoil caused riots, and the regime blamed the newspapers. The press was censored to that effect, and an act was established here, and that act was the 1949 Act, which was enacted to limit circulation of several newspapers, which were later banned. One editor was arrested by then, I think he was called Omolo, and convicted of criticizing the king. Yeah, despite substantial progress, similar struggles still persist in Uganda up to today. The 1995 Constitution guarantees freedom of expression, but some legal and extra-legal mechanisms resist media in Uganda. For example, in the Press and Journalism Act, which proponents said would increase the level of professionalism in the industry, requires journalists to obtain a certificate to practice journalism from Minister of Information, something that is actually against the wish of journalists and international protocols of freedom of expression. Yeah. The government has had a long history of suppressing citizen participation in governance and freedom of expression, largely due to bad colonial and post-colonial policies on media and language, poverty, low levels of income, yeah, and lack of basic access to means of participation. Yeah. In the Ugandan context, you look at the regulations are unevenly distributed among media houses. Many owners of commercial media houses hold substantial financial and political power. Thus, government regulators handle media owners with kids' gloves. Yeah. So as a result of this analysis, yeah, some commercial owners take it upon themselves to self-censor and ensure that their outlets do not offend government. So in addition to this, what I'm saying, the Constitution guarantees although the Constitution guarantees freedom of expression, it conditions as freedom by stating that the rationalization of rights and freedom listed in the Constitution should not be prejudiced with the fundamentals of other human rights and freedom of other public interests. Thus, restrictions can rise in the name of public interest. And I think that is where the bedrock of media antagonism is in Uganda. Despite these array of challenges, the journalists in Uganda face, there is research that has shown that also journalists lack high values in journalistic norms, such as analysis of investigations of official claims and giving everyday citizens voice. So basically, when you look at media in Uganda, I think that is how it is. So perhaps I can also say, although we complain mainly that the sitting government, perhaps the government of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is suppressing media. Yeah? It's agreeable because I keep seeing that every day. But media houses also need to learn to go by the regulatory framework, because post state is the one that informs the masses in regards to democracy and good governance practices. So I think that is basically my submission. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, DJ, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we should move into the sort of final type.
Before we move on, I know there were two people that had their hands up for the longest time. I don't want to pass them. I think Pizza, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So if you wanted to share, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Najita Maimuna. Sorry, I'm in the dark because that is where my charger is. The previous speaker has spoken about Uganda. I'm also Ugandan. And I just wanted to supplement just a little bit because he has spoken most of what I wanted to say. But let me just supplement. I wanted to talk about the brutality, the extreme brutality that is happening in Uganda towards the journalists. During campaigns, there is it was after we voted. Some people wanted to take a certain paper to the US embassy, and then the journalists who were there came back as if they were coming from a war. They had sustained a lot of wounds, and then some journalists who used to move on the campaign trail of certain politicians, like the opposition politicians, used to come back with wounds. There is one who really got very injured, and it took him months to actually recover, So it is really a terrible state. And then there is closure of Facebook. I don't know if someone talked about it. Right now in Uganda, we do not have Facebook. If you're to access Facebook, you have to have VPN, which is illegal, of course. And then there is a very high taxation. We have freedom to access information, but then there is a very high tax towards the social media platforms, because I think the current regime is not popular on social media platforms. Like most of our people there are opposition people, because it's full of young people, and most of the young people really want change in Uganda. So the regime is really suppressing people's access to information, and we cannot access Facebook up to now, and there is no hope of accessing Facebook again. So people I know Facebook plays a very key role in giving out information, like for press, but right now it is actually not working. And then lastly, there is a termination of interviews. There are times, most during the campaigns, most of our people, like opposition people, were not allowed to go to radio stations. Yet we had our elections recently, and it was during the pandemic. And the only way to campaign or to pass information to your electorate was through social media and a meeting of 20 people. And for a president, you cannot meet, it was very hard for you to just meet 20 people and you're speaking, you had to really use social media mostly, because that is where our target electorate were. But then social media was really frustrated, and towards elections, during election,
Right now. Yeah, but it's soon getting done. Eh?
I think Nagita froze.
Let's see. I think she froze. I was gonna give her a minute. Chipper, I know you had your hand up for a really long time. Do you have something you wanted to say as well?
Chipper, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Maybe speak closer. I don't know.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, hi Maya. Hi Scott. Hi everyone. Yeah. If it's not really a question anyways, or should I say, I just want to find out, especially from Tunji, because Tunji is like, he's familiar with the Nigerian News and Journalists Act. I don't know, is there anything he can tell me about Nigeria when it comes to the News Act and the state of press in the country? Because I know, like, of course, Twitter is banned in the country, but I don't know anything about whether there are laws concerning the news and press release in Nigeria. So Tunji, please, if you can help me, because he's more familiar in the work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
go ahead? Okay. So press freedom in Nigeria is guided by Section 39, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So yes, what you're asking is if there's a law that guides press freedom. Yes, there's a law and is in our constitution. So it's in the constitution. You can just Google Nigeria's constitution and check Section 39, subsection 1. You'll see that. Now, in terms of the content that goes out on news, media, and all, I mentioned earlier that we have, in the early 80s, we had an agency called the News Agency of Nigeria that was the only source of news for people in Nigeria. And then as we got into democratic era after 1999, we had different boards that the government established. So we have the Films and Video Censors Board that censors content that goes out into entertainment industry. And then we also have the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC Act, which was established around 2004 to regulate all media houses, including radio, television, and online TVs, right? And we also have the Nigerian Nigerian Press Council, right? So there's a Nigerian Press Bill that is coordinated by the Nigerian Press Council that regulates the newspapers. So there are two agencies. Sorry? Okay, so there are two agencies. So there's the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation Act that regulates all the news on traditional media, television, radio stations, and what have you. And then there's the Nigeria Press Council Act that regulates news that goes out on newspapers, print medias, and what have you. What we do not have right now is an agency to regulate social media, which is what the government is currently battling with. And because there was a lot of agitation, and what also led to EndSARS last year. So the government could not come up with a bill to regulate social media. And what they did was to ban Twitter, okay? And so right now, Twitter is banned by government promulgation, but there's no law that says we cannot use Twitter, okay? And so Facebook is still ongoing. People are still using Facebook. Facebook is not banned. Instagram is not banned, but Twitter is banned. So Nigerian government is still working on a law or an act to regulate social media right now.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tunji. A lot of really, really good information. So thank you so much. I saw one last person. I saw someone with their hand up. I don't remember who it was. One last person, and then we have to go on to the next question. Oh yeah, okay, I see. Go ahead.
I want to answer the next question if you want, because I think I talked about some of them. So I don't want you to, miss the other questions for the meeting. Maybe you want to cover them also.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is your next question?
Oh, okay. So the next thing I wanted to ask are, what are some things that you can do to advocate for free press? So this whole meeting so far, we were talking about how journalists have been beating. Twitter is banned in some areas. Facebook is banned in other areas. In other areas, like I know in China, they have their own social media that is filtered through by the government. So this is some serious stuff. So how, as activists, can we combat this? How can we advocate for truly free press?
Yes, I think one of the most important issues about the solutions is to increase education. I think there's a term called media literacy. First of all, one of the problems, yes, there's a government pressure on many countries on both traditional media and social media. But I think in terms of the fake news problem, if people also know how to fight against the fake news, maybe they would be more empowered to protect the truths that has been circulated on social media. Because most of the time the authoritarian governments have they adhere to one simple rhetoric. They say that so many fake news have been circulated on social media, so we had better put some rules or exercise some kind of censorship on online platforms. For example, a friend has said that the Twitter is blocked in Nigeria, I think. Yes. So I think one of the reasons behind such blockages or such closures of the social media networks is this discourse that the politicians, I think, abuse. They say that there is fake news, so we should not let them, misinform the masses. So first of all, the masses, I mean, the public should be well educated or educated enough to fight against such problems. But of course, this is not a simple, or this is not a very easy for a citizen. So also, I think the citizens should be aware of who they are voting for. Also, this is not very simple, because some politicians, they give big promises, but in the end, when they are elected, they break all their promises that they make, and they then turn authoritarian. So in order to have a free press, I think education is very important. Media literacy, also how to use social media in an efficient way is also important. Here, I think another important term is citizen journalism, because if we know how to report, or how to, not just consume news, but if you know how to report what's going on around us, maybe we would be more powerful because we would not be just, limited to the government's media actors. So we can produce our own news and we can circulate it. So also we must be well aware of how technology works in today's world. Yes, we are reading the news on Twitter, but also we should maybe know how to make a live video or, to make a report, because as I said, when governments put pressure on the TVs or radios, I think social media is very important. I can say this. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you so much. I definitely agree with media literacy. A lot of people don't know how to use the media because the government doesn't want them to know. And so teaching, especially young people, how to, understand what social media is and its importance. Thank you so much. I think Tunji, you have your hand up.
Yes, so I just want to contribute to what she said. And I'm going to play the devil's advocate, right? So we can decide, blame governments for regulating and censoring, but at the same time, we need to think from both ends. Democracy itself works effectively when you have an educated population, right? Where people know right from left, where people can be able to go to the polls and decide who is the right leader based on manifestos, and they're able to read, understand, and able to digest, the promises that politicians make. In Nigeria, and even on a large scale, Africa, for example, the literacy rate is very low compared to what you have in the US or the UK or even China, right? So when you have a low literacy rate, there's always that tendency to spread fake news, because people are not able to digest, or they are unable to understand what is being passed across. And that is where you see that, when news fly around, you don't know which news can incite violence. And in a population where unemployment is almost 40%, people are idle and they do not have things that they are doing, right? So they pick some of these news and it becomes something of a national security concern. And like what I said earlier, that you now start seeing news flying around, one ethnic group attacking another ethnic group, and it's all because there's a fake news from someone that was, maybe transferred from a WhatsApp group to another WhatsApp group, and there are plenty WhatsApp groups, right? So people are not able to, able to investigate the source or credibility of what information they're passing around. So we can't blame government for trying to regulate, and we cannot blame them for trying to censor what information is passed, because the terrain is different, and because there's antecedents of violence caused by fake news. Now, having said that, people's rights also need to be respected, right? So people have the right to use whatever platform they want to pass an information. The fact that I can use Facebook today does not mean I can use Twitter. So for me, I can decide to say it's Twitter I want to use. I don't want to use Facebook. So why should you ban Twitter? So I think there should be more, from my side, there should be more of people or governments coming out to educate people more about why they do what they do. So if you are banning Twitter, for example, you can't just be an authoritarian president, or because you are a former military general, you can just say something and then people just accept it. This is democracy, where you need to explain the reasons why you do what you do so that people can believe. So when you come out and you just ban a platform, you are sending a negative vibe, you are sending a negative information to people, and people tend to take it in the wrong way, right? So I think for me, government needs to be more transparent. Government needs to communicate more with people and explain the reasons behind every policy they make.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tunji, for sharing. This is a lot of interesting conversation. I'm just looking at the chat right now, and I know Samuel was saying too that we definitely need to educate people more on social media. And yes, Martin, there is a WhatsApp group. Scott, I don't have the link. Maybe you can share the link.
Yeah, Martin, if you sorry you're not in the group, if you put your number in the chat, we can be sure to add you if that works okay. Maya, is it all right if I want to be respectful of time? So yeah, we just wanted to close out. I thought this was a very good conversation. I wanted to just go off what Tunji was saying and what Samuel said in the chat. This is, very tricky conversation, because there are so many more ways. I think, maybe if we were talking 20 years ago, media would have been very specific, right? It would have been, some newspapers, some television. Now you have social media, you have all these different ways for people to express themselves. Some of that has democratized information. Some of that has made it easier for people to spread misinformation. And so I think we're in this age where I think it's very important to continue this conversation, because a democracy is dependent on a free exchange of ideas. It's dependent on people having the same knowledge and facts, but we're seeing how difficult that is to do right now. And so it's very interesting hearing the different contexts of what's happening in places from Turkey to Uganda to China to South Sudan to Nigeria. And so you're seeing some of the similarities. Governments trying to maintain information flow, the importance of educating people on how to actually digest information. And these are things that we see in the US all the time. And some of there's such rapid information flow that sometimes it's hard to know what to do. So we want to continue this conversation for sure. And if you have any other ideas, if we will put this video out, if you'd like to write anything on this for the blog, please feel free to do so. And we hope to continue the conversation as well.
All right. Thank you guys all for sharing. I know we've all learned a lot. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
It was so nice talking with you all.
Thanks.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.